Good morning. As we begin our service this morning, we are on page 178. We rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai Amvoruch. Baruch Adonai Amvoruch leolam vaed.
Please be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Hameir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim, u'tuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai kulam b'chokma asita. Mala ha'aretz kinyanecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha. Ve'al me'orei or she'asita yifarucha sela. Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir v'nizkeh hulanu mehevra la'oro. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer ha'me'orot.
Ahava rabbatanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chemla gedola v'tera, amalta aleinu. Ba'avur avotenu, ve'imotenu, Shabbatchu becha, Shabbatchu becha, Shabbatchu becha. V'at lamdem chukei chaim, ken tichonenu tlamdenu, Avinu hov harachamam, Amrachem rachem aleinu. Leten belibenu lehavin ulhaskil lishmo, lilmod ulelamed, lishmor velasot. Ulkayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha ve'ahava. Baruch atah Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai echad. Baruch Shem kevod malchuto leolam vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha. Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet.
We read together page 192. True and steadfast is this teaching, beloved and treasured, a source of wonder, a fount of goodness, a thing of beauty and ours for all time. And true it is, the eternal God is our sovereign, the rock of Jacob, our protecting shield. Through all generation, God's name lives on. God's throne stands firm. God's dominion prevails. God's grandeur and faithfulness endure through eternity. God's words are precious. They will live forever. From Egypt you redeemed us, Adonai our God, and from the slave house you set us free. For this the people who felt your love exalted you, and the ones you found precious sang hymns of praise, blessing, and thanks to the living God who reigns forever. High and exalted, inspiring wonder, who humbles the proud and raises the lowly, who frees the captive, redeems the oppressed, and sustains the poor. God responds to the cry of our people, their prayer in time of need. Sing praise to God Most High, most blessed source of blessing, as Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang this joyous song to you.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neder b'kodesh, nurot ilat usefel. Shira chadasha, shibechu geulim, לשמך אספת היום, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל, צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, גואלנו, גואלנו, אדוני צבאות שמו. Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
We rise for the Amidah, page 198.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו ואהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, למענך, למענך, 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 למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אמן. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים רופא חולים ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע. מי כמוך אל הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים, ולמען אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. Amen.
We sing of the awe and power of this day. Unatana Tokef, page 208.
Unatana Tokef, Kedushat Hayom, Ki'unorav Hayom, ותנשא מלכותך, ויקום בחסד כיסאך, ותשב עליו באמת, ותשב עליו באמת. אמת כי אתה הוא דיין ומוכיח, ויודע ועת, וחותם וסופר ומונה, ותזכור כל הנשכחות, ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות, ומלוא וקרא וחתומיות כל אדמות, ושופר גדול ייתקע, וכל דממה דקה יישמע, ומלאכים יחפזון, וחיל אורדו יאחזון, ומלאכים יחפזון, וחיל אורדו יאחזון.
Let us proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love. Your reign is a reign of truth. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal. You record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. And so a great shofar will cry, Tekiah. A still small voice will be heard. Angels in a whirl of fear and trembling will say, Behold, the day of judgment. For they too are judged in your eyes, even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you like sheep before the shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock, when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgments.
בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון, וביום צום כיפור, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון, וביום צום כיפור, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון.
On Rosh Hashanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted?
ותשובה ותפילה ותדקה
But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree. You are everything that we praise for, slow to anger, quick to forgive. You do not wish the death of sinners, but urge them to return from their ways and live. Until the day of death, you wait for them. You accept them at once if they return. Since you created us, you know our impulses. We are but flesh and blood. We who are mortal, our origin is dust, and so is our end. We wear out our lives to get our bread, like broken vessels, like withered grass, like a flower that must fade, a shadow moving on, a cloud passing by, mere dust on the wind, a dream that flies away. But for you, ever-living sovereign, time has no limits. Your presence, unbounded by days and years, is everywhere. A glorious mystery none can decipher. Your name is worthy of you, and you are worthy of your name. And our name you have linked with yours.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב ביד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר, אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר, שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם. אלוהי ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש.
We continue with a moment of silent prayer.
שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עמך, עמך, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עמך, עמך, ברכנו, ברכנו אבינו, כולנו כאחד. ברכנו, ברכנו אבינו, באור פניך. שים שלום, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עמך, עמך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, תורת חיים ואהבת חסד, ואהבת חסד, וצדקה וברכה, ורחמים וחיים ושלום. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עמך, עמך, בספר חיים ורפך בשלום, ופרנסה טובה, נזכר וניכתב לפניך, וצדקה אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל, לחיים טובים ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עמך, עמך.
Shana Tova. I've been thinking back quite a bit to those initial weeks of the pandemic, when the streets were silent, except for the sound of sirens. You remember that? Can you bring yourself back there for a moment? Back then, I had a thought that bothers me still deeply. It troubled me so much, I cannot shake it to this day. Maybe I wasn't the only one. I found myself cheering internally for the strangest things back then. Oh, good, I thought. Only 400 people died today. The next day, 389 people died. Even better. The day after that, 375 people died. We're on a roll. What is that thought? Only 375 people? How could that fact make me feel something positive? What is happening in our world where deaths are becoming numbers counted on a page rather than lives to be sadly missed? Human life is the most precious commodity we have. It's the central value of Judaism. It's why we call Torah a tree of life. It's why our morning prayers include thanking God for waking us up and allowing our bodies to function in the most basic terms. It's that smell that reminds us of our childhood or the touch of a loved one. It's the sound of children laughing together. It's why in the Torah portion for these high holy days we read, "Choose life so that your children may live." It's why even Kaddish, the Jewish prayer for death, is actually an affirmation of life. Think about the contentment you feel when a grandparent holds their newborn baby grandchild for the first time. What could be better than that? The preciousness, the vulnerability, the respect for human life is the essence of Judaism. But I'm worried. I am deeply worried that our reaction to this pandemic is bringing out a dark side of humanity and that we are drifting away from our moral core. Instead of valuing lives, have we become all too comfortable diminishing them? Is the pandemic turning the devaluing of life into our way of living? I mean, have you heard the rhetoric about older people in our country these days? Quote, "The virus is really only dangerous for old people. They already had their lives. What's really the difference of another year or two?" I can tell you it makes a great deal of difference. It's the difference of sons and daughters who have parents and sons and daughters who don't. It's the difference of young children who have grandparents and a generation of grandparents who died too soon. It's the difference of Jews being able to testify as a living witness to Jewish history or not. Your life is not more precious than the life of an older person sitting in a retirement home, and neither is mine. And it's not old people only that we do this with. We've told ourselves all kinds of stories about this virus to calm our scared souls. At first, we told ourselves it's something far away. It's affecting Chinese people. The next day, we say it's a virus that mainly affects poor people or homeless people. The day after that, we convince ourselves it's the Latino community. The virus does disproportionately impact different communities, but we cannot use that as a way to lessen its severity. We cannot tell ourselves, it's them, it's them, it's them. It's never us. As if that makes it better somehow. As if denial can defend us against death. As if diminishing someone else's life through psychological distancing will spare your life. By internally placing the coronavirus on others, it's a way of saying that their life is less important than ours. So what if it is affecting one population more than your own? Does that make it better? To destroy a single life is as if you've destroyed an entire universe. That's what the rabbis teach. Every time someone dies, no matter their geography or wealth or ethnicity or country, it is a devastation to us all. A person is not a distant number to be counted. She is an individual to be mourned. And lest we allow ourselves to believe that this diminishing of human life is inspired by the coronavirus only, let me remind you about what is happening and what has happened in the Black community. Perhaps nowhere has this devaluing of human life seen more acutely than towards the African American population. This was the year we watched as a police officer extinguished a human life in 8 minutes and 46 seconds. The life of a man named George Floyd. 8 minutes and 46 seconds? What even is that? What mindset do you even have to suffocate a life with your knee on the neck of another human being? How did this police officer, who is vacant of any sense of moral rectitude, find himself in a position of power? Who must you be internally to eliminate a life slowly, needlessly, and without purpose? How do you even get that way? To do that, you cannot see the other person as a person. You must see them as something less, an animal, a criminal, a thug. You must think they are not valuable. They are not equal. They are not people. That act of cowardly murder was the grossest violation of everything Judaism stands for. It is the opposite of enjoying the sound of children playing together. It is the opposite of hugging your grandmother for the first time in a very long time. It is the opposite of respect for the sanctity of human life. It is the worst of us. And what happened to George Floyd is a microcosm of what has happened and what continues to happen to the African American community. In our backyard, it is dangerous to be Black while bird watching. Think about that. Where I live, where you live, lives are in jeopardy for no reason at all. If you are Black in our very city, you have unequal access to housing, to education, to employment, to capital, and to healthcare. All of these systems of racism are ways of suppressing human life, of diminishing life. Our Torah says, choose life so that your children may live. Aren't Black people God's children also? Don't they deserve the same chance at a life well lived as everyone else? The irony, of course, is that George Floyd had coronavirus, and he beat it. He escaped a deadly pandemic only to be murdered by the psychological pandemic of racism. You know the story of Cain and Abel? After Cain kills Abel, he asks God, "Am I my brother's keeper?" For some reason, the question has become more well-known than the answer. But God's answer is clear. Yes, yes, we are our brother's keeper and our sister's keeper. We carry a moral obligation to safeguard the lives of others from diseases, both physiological and psychological. We are Jews. We know what it means to be dehumanized. When we were captured and imprisoned in Auschwitz, the Nazis infamously deprived us from the simple act of dignity of eating with a spoon. They forced us to eat with our hands. Why? To dehumanize us, to diminish the value of our lives, to humiliate us and make us internalize that we were like animals. In their eyes, we were not people. As victims of centuries of persecution, humiliation, exile, torment, ridicule, and discrimination, we can pull from our well of history and muster profound empathy for others. We know what it means to be dehumanized. We know that the oppression of a people's very humanity leads to hurt, to violence, and to, worst of all, death. Judaism argues that to save a life, you are required to violate nearly every single rule of Torah. We have an obligation to be lifesavers. We cannot sit idly by and watch as our country and our culture devalues, dismisses, diminishes, and disrespects our most cherished treasure, the sanctity of human life. When we hear the notion that the coronavirus is not so bad because it only affects them, we must say, there is no them. It affects us all. When we see race-based disregard for human life, we must say, we will fight for you. When we catch ourselves counting lost lives like they are mere numbers on a tally, we must remind ourselves that each life is a precious gift from God that we are only given once. For a long while, I'm worried this conversation will only get messier. If we're fortunate enough to get a vaccine, who will get it? When? Who has access to testing? Who doesn't? Which type of employees will have the option to return to work? Which won't? What about homeless people? How do we honor or dishonor their lives? It's all a valuation of human life. It's the kind of calculation that is better suited for our cosmic realm, not us. But nonetheless, this is our moment, and we need to rise to the challenge. The rabbis said that to destroy a life is as if you've destroyed an entire universe. But that's not the end of the teaching. It continues, but to save a life, it's as if you have saved the entire world. We must celebrate every life and mourn every death. It's the human thing to do. Don't lose that. And when we see others diminishing the value of even a single life, we must rush to try and save it. So I say, to life, l'chaim. L'chaim, l'chaim, to life. It's the most simple thing. To your life, l'chaim. To their life, l'chaim. To old lives, l'chaim. To black lives, l'chaim. I hope you spend 5781 appreciating every moment of this life that you can. I hope you squeeze your children extra hard. I hope you are kind to yourself. I hope you do the things that make you happy. I hope you cherish the sanctity of life itself, both the holy and the mundane. In this new year, 5781, may you find good health. May your loved ones live a life of vitality. May you fight to uphold Judaism's most sacred values, and may God inscribe you in the book of life. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova, Yasher Koach.
We turn to Avinu Malkeinu, page 252. Please rise.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Katano lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chumol aleinu, ve'olol aleinu, ve'topeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kali dever, ve'cherev v'rav, me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kali chotzah, נסתין מעלינו. אבינו מלכנו, אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר חיים טובים. אבינו מלכנו, קודש עלינו, קודש עלינו, שנה טובה. אבינו מלכנו, שמע קולנו, שמע קולנו, שמע קולנו. אבינו מלכנו, חננו בנינו. אבינו מלכנו, חננו בנינו, כי אין במעשים. עשה בנו צדקה וחסד. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו.
For the honor of opening the Ark, Dean and Jill Shavuzian.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Benora, Shemo. Lecha Adonai הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח והוד.
For the blessing of Torah, we welcome Judy Steinman to the bima.
Baruch es Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'nasan lanu es toraso. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen. For the honor of chanting Torah, we welcome Mickey Rindler to the bima.
אמן. אתם ניצבים היום כולכם לפני אדוני אלוהיכם, ראשיכם שבטיכם, זקניכם ושודריכם כל איש ישראל. טפכם נשיכם בגרך אשר בקרב מחניך, Mechote Betzacha Ad Shui Mimecha L'Abraha V'Brit Adonai Elohecha U'Valato Asher Adonai Elohecha Karedim Hayom Leman Hakimotcha Hayom Lo Le'am V'hu Yelecha Elohim Kasher Diber Lach Asher Nishba L'Avatecha L'Abraham L'Yitzhak U'Yakov V'lo Itzchem L'Varchem Anochi Korei Habrit Hazod V'Yaha'ala Hazod Ki En Asher Yeshno Ho Imanu Omeid Hayom Lifnei Eloheinu Ve'et asher einanu po imanu hayom.
Yasher koach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher nasan lanu Torah semes V'chayei olam neta b'solchenu Baruch Atah Adonai Nosein HaTorah.
Amen. For the blessing before the Torah, we welcome Jerry Arbitier and Lisa Klinghoffer.
Baruch es Adonai HaBaruch.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBaruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher b'char banu mikol ha'amim V'nasa lanu et toratso Baruch atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Haya. Yavo alecha koharim ha'ele habracha v'haklala asher hatati lefanecha v'hashivota el rabecha b'kol hagayim asher hinichacha Adonai Elohecha shama V'shavta Adonai Elohecha v'shamarta b'kolo k'kol asher anochi mitzavcha hayom ata u'banecha v'chol avocha v'chol nafshecha v'shav Adonai Elohecha et shvutcha v'richamecha v'shav V'kivetzcha mikol ha'amim asher hapitzcha Elohecha shama Im yidechacha v'tzei hashamayim misham V'kivetzcha Adonai Elohecha misham yikachecha V'haviacha Elohecha al ha'aretz asher Yeshua b'tacha v'yishta v'hetivcha v'hirbecha me'abatecha Mo Adonai Elohecha, et lebavcha v'et levav zarecha, v'ahava et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol lebavcha v'chol nafshecha l'man chayecha, v'natan Adonai Elohecha, et kol ha'alot ha'ela, Lecha v'asanecha asher v'rafrucha, v'ata tashuv v'shamata b'kol Adonai, v'asita et kol mitzvotav asher nofi mitzvah hayom. V'hotircha Adonai Elohecha v'chol ma'aseh yadecha, be free, be free, v'hemtecha, be free ad ma'ad tova, ki yashuv Adonai lasu salvacha l'tov, kasher sas alavatecha, ki tishma l'kol Adonai Elohecha, lishmor mitzvotav v'chukatav ha'ktuvah sefer haTorah hazeh, ki tashuv Adonai Elohecha v'chol lebavcha v'chol nafshecha.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'chokenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. For the honor of the Aliyah, we welcome Jamil Simon and Nancy Berliner to the Bima.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ki hamitzvah hazot asher nofi mitzvah hayom, lo niflehi mincha, lo rechaka hi, lo v'shamayim hi lemur. V'yalelanu hashamayim v'yikachecha lanu v'yashminu atah v'nasena. V'lemever layam hi lemur, yavar lanu, yavar lanu, alever hayam v'yikachecha lanu v'yashminu atah v'nasena. Ki karov elecha hadavano v'ficha v'yavavcha lasoto. Re'eh natati levanecha hayom, et hachayim v'yet hatov v'yet hamalech v'yet hara, asher anochi mitzvata hayom, v'hava et Adonai Elohecha lalecha b'drachav v'lishmor mitzvotav v'chukatav v'mishpatav, v'chayita v'rabita v'racha Adonai Elohecha ba'aretz אשר אתה בשמה לרשתה. אם יפנה לבבך ולא תשמע ונידחת והשתחווית ואלוהים אחרים ועבדתם. הגעתי לכם היום כי אבות תאבדון, לא תאריכון ימים על האדמה אשר אתה עובר הירדן לבוא שמה לרשתה. הידעתי לכם היום את השמיים והארץ החיים והמעבד נתתי לפניך הברכה והקללה ובחרת בחיים למען תחיה אתה ושרעך. נאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך לשמוע בקולו ולקרבו כי הוא חייך באורך ימיך לשבת על האדמה אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיך לאברהם ליצחק ויעקב לתת להם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. For the lifting and dressing of the Torah, it is my honor to welcome David Caceres and Carol Swedlow to the Bima.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. לי 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 לי
No, Stacy, sit down still. Oh, okay. Okay, that's exciting. It's okay. Here. Okay. Okay, get those pieces. Here, wait, I'll pause. Thank you. For the blessing before and after the Haftorah, we welcome Deb Seidman to the Bima.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divrehem hane'marim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah ובמשה עבדו, ובישראל עמו, ובנביאים הצדק.
קרא וגרון אל תחשוך, כשופר הרם קולך, והגד לעמי פשעם, ולבית יעקב חטאותם. ואותי יום יום ידרשון, ודעת דרכי יחפצון, כגויי אשר צדקה עשה, ומשפט אלוהיו לא עזב. ישאלוני משפטי צדק, קרבת אלוהים יחפצון. למה צמנו ולא ראית? עינינו נפשנו ולא תדע. כן, ביום צומכם תמצאו חפץ, וכל עצביכם תנגושו. כן, לריב ומצה תצומו, ולהכות באגרון רשע. לא תצומו כיום, להשמיע במרום קולכם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zor kol amim, zadik b'kol hadarot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'yoseh, ha'medaber u'mekayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah, v'al ha'nevi'im, v'al yom ha'kippurim hazeh, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, למחילה ולסליקה ולכפרה, לכבוד ולתפארת, על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד, ודברך האמת וקיים לעד. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mohel v'solech v'lavanotenu, v'lavanotam beit Yisrael, u'ma'avir hashmotenu b'kol shana v'shana, melech v'al kol haaretz. Nikadesh Yisrael v'yom ha'kippurim.
Amen.
וקבל ברחמים, ברחמים וברצון תפילתנו.
An alphabet of our sins, we turn to page 296 for Ashamnu.
Hashamnu, Hashamnu, Bagadnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, Dibarnu Dofi, Yai la 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 la, Yai la 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 la, Yai la 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 la. Hevinu, Hevinu, Vehirshanu, Vehirshanu, Zadnu, Zadnu, Chamasnu, Chamasnu, Tafalnu Shaker, Tafalnu Shaker, Yai la 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 la, Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la, Ya'atnu ra, Ya'atnu ra, Kizavnu, Kizavnu, Latnu, Latnu, Maranu, Maranu, Niatnu, Niatnu, Sararnu, Sararnu, Avinu, Avinu, Pashanu, Pashanu, Sararnu, Sararnu, Kishinu Oref, Kishinu Oref, Yai la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la. Rashanu, Rashanu, Shichatnu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Tainu, Titanu, Titanu, Lai, 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 lai.
Al Chet Shechatanu Lefanecha, page 300, Vidui.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בעונז וברצון, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך ביודעים ובלא יודעים.
The ways we have wronged you through our thoughtlessness and harm, we have caused in your world through impulsive acts of malice.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחוזק יד, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בזלזול הורים ומורים.
The ways we have wronged you by giving into our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through inflexibility and stubbornness.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בכחש ובכזב, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בקלות ראש.
The ways we have wronged you in our routine conversations, and harm we have caused in your world through envy.
ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו. ועל כולם אלוהי lanu, selach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי ובסתר, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בשנאת חינם.
The ways we have wronged you by losing self-control and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגילוי עריות, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב.
The ways we have wronged you through greed and exploitation and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בהרהור הלב, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך ברכילות.
The ways we have wronged you by offering or accepting bribes and harm we have caused in your world by profaning your name in public.
ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו. ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו.
For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Page 310, Kianu Amecha.
כי אנו עמך ואתה אלוהינו, אנו בניך ואתה אבינו, אנו עבדיך ואתה אדוננו, אנו כליך ואתה חלקנו. יאי לי, לי 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 לי
So just a few announcements before we close. First of all, there really is no closing to this service because the idea is that we stay and we pray all day long. So we invite you to keep praying with us. As a reminder, we have lots of meaningful worship experiences. We have 2 remarkable adult education classes that'll be interactive on Zoom. We have a teen experience. We have our family service featuring our remarkable children's choir. And of course, this afternoon, we have Torah service, a very special Yisker, which I invite you to join us, and Ne'ilah, maybe like you've never seen it before. So we look forward to seeing you later. Cancer, what are we closing with?
Hayom te'amtzenu.
Beautiful.
Hayom, 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 hayom te'amtzenu. Amen. Hayom, 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 hayom tevorchenu. Amen. Hayom, 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 hayom. Hayom, 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 hayom tigadleinu. Amen. Hayom, 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 hayom tidrishenu l'tova. Amen, amen. hayom, 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 תכתבי לחיים טובים, אמן. hayom, 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 תשמע בתינו, אמן, אמן. hayom, 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 תתמכנו בימין צדקך, אמן.
אמן, אמן. שנה
אמן.
טובה.